Oh, were you expecting a feeble Austrian child? Well, thankfully, you can sigh a breath of relief because it's just me with significantly worse audio and video quality and editing, but way better thumbnails. And on that note, let's read the book. The Wealth of Nations, Book 3, of the different progress and opulence of different nations. Chapter 1, of the natural progress of opulence. In this chapter, Smith is comparing the country and the town a lot. You can also think of this as urban to rural areas. He begins the chapter by stating that the great commerce of every civilized society occurs between people living in the town and people living in the country. People in the country provide those in the town with the means of subsistence, like food, and the materials for manufacture, like rocks. I'm in Virginia right now, and so I'm thinking about rocks a lot. I've never met so many geologists in my life. And this is a mutually advantageous system. It's a more efficient, positive division of things because it would require a lot more work for the country to manufacture all the goods on their own. And they can sort of outsource that work to the city. The city provides a market for the surplus of the country. What is over and beyond their own needs for self-maintenance can now be put towards something good, creating products that there is a demand for in the country. The city creates a market for the surplus produce of the country. And what was over and beyond their own needs for self-maintenance can now be put towards something good, creating products that there is a demand for in the country. But first and most important thing is substance created by the country, which precedes in importance the items created by the town, which are typically more luxury extra items. Although some of these items do include tools used for cultivation of the land, which does make farmers' lives easier. But typically, I'm looking at you Zoomers, the cultivation and improvement of the country, therefore, which affords substance, must necessarily be prior to the increase of the town, which furnishes only the means of convenience and luxury. So it is only the surplus of the country that can be used for the expansion of the town. However, the town does not always get all of its substance from its own country, sometimes gets its substance from other nations as well. So due to this order of needs, it follows that the order of where capital should flow for improvement should be first to the country, then to the town, and the final surplus of capital can be used for foreign commerce. However, this natural flow of things is not always what plays out in real life, which we will explore later in the text. Assuming a scenario in which the profits would be equal, most people would choose to funnel their capital into more cultivation and improvement of their land, rather than manufacturing or foreign trade. This is because their land, which is right in front of them, is more directly within their control, as opposed to foreign trade, for example, which involves a lot of costs and working with people that you don't necessarily know, and there could be some risks within that. And just as the capital of the landlord or farmer is more secure than the capital of the manufacturer, the capital of the manufacturer is more secure than that of the foreign trader or merchant. And that sort of plays into this natural flow of things that we see here. Commerce between the town and the country is also dictated by such. The amount of manufactured products that the town is able to sell back to the country, in turn regulates the amount of raw materials to manufacture those goods that they will buy from the country. The more manufactured goods the country buys increases the amount of raw materials the town will purchase from the country in order to create those goods. And this growth in supply of raw materials from the country can in turn only develop alongside the improvement and cultivation of the land of the country. Had human institutions, therefore, never disturbed the natural course of things, the progressive wealth and increase of the towns would, in every political society, be consequential and in proportion to the improvement and cultivation of the territory or country. Smith now compares the North American colonies to Europe, the contrast being that America still had many uncultivated lands, and Europe, the land was mostly cultivated, and there's more control over who had access to land. In the American colonies, the economies were such that many of the surplus goods produced in the country were not prepared for distant manufacture and sale, whereas in Europe they were, and therefore more tied into concepts such as the division of labor, and importantly, less capital in Europe funneled into the improvement and cultivation of the land. This contrasts the natural order of things that Smith describes, in which the capital is first funneled into the improvement of the land, then the towns, and then finally to foreign trade. Smith also notes the idyllic independence of the North American farmer, in which he depends on no one but the labor of himself and his family, truly a master, independent of all the world. But even in other scenarios, we do see active foreign trade, sometimes in periods of earlier development, and Smith contends it is not too important whose capital is used to facilitate that trade, whether it's the nation itself or the foreign nation. Smith points to the wealth of ancient Egypt, or China and Indostan in Smith's time of writing, who achieved a great deal of opulence while the greater part of its exportation trade was carried out by foreigners. Foreign trade that did occur in North America was carried out by foreign nations, and that helped accelerate the progress of the North American colonies. Smith ends with his criticism of the state of Europe, where much of the finer manufactured goods are created for the purpose of foreign trade, and not enough capital, he believes, being used for the further development, improvement, and cultivation of the country or agriculture. This being a result of customs and laws that have developed through European history and stand in contrast to what would be the natural order of things. Well, I hope you enjoyed this first chapter, and stay tuned. In 2 weeks we will have chapter 2 up on YouTube, or we have a Patreon now. If you want to join that and get early access to the video, we would so appreciate it. And have a great week and a great day. Bye.